Let's talk about puberty. I mean, it's confusing, right? It's unpredictable, and honestly, it can be pretty overwhelming for every single one of us. But for autistic youth, this universal journey of change presents a really unique set of challenges. Okay, let's dive into the science and the strategies that can help parents navigate this critical time.
For a second, just let yourself think back, way back, to your own adolescence. Remember the awkwardness, all those new feelings, the sense that your body and your brain were being completely rewired and nobody gave you the instruction manual? It was a lot to handle, for sure. Okay, hold that thought. Now imagine trying to go through all of that chaos when your brain is literally wired to crave routine, to thrive on predictability and really clear rules. See the problem? The very nature of puberty, its total unpredictability, runs completely counter to the way an autistic brain often makes sense of the world. And that's the core challenge we're going to unpack together in this explainer. All right, so first things first, let's get on the same page. What is puberty, really? At its heart, it's the process of growing up. It's all driven by hormones, and it usually kicks off somewhere between the ages of 8 and 13. And it's not like a light switch does flips on, right? It's a whole process with a bunch of stages. It usually starts with physical growth, getting taller, heavier, more muscular. Then comes the hair growth in, well, new places. Those changing hormones also bring on things like body odor and acne. The voice starts to deepen, which can be a really strange experience in itself. And then, of course, there's sexual development, which includes more frequent erections and an awareness of masturbation. It's so important to remember these are all completely normal parts of this journey. So if that's the standard roadmap, how does this journey look different for an autistic child? Well, all those changes we just listed, they can be amplified. They can be experienced in a profoundly different way. Here's what you gotta understand. The core traits of autism can make this whole puberty thing especially difficult. Think about it. Abstract physical changes can be really hard to grasp. New, super intense emotions are so much tougher to regulate. Communicating these complex new feelings, that's a huge challenge. And then boom, suddenly there's a whole new set of unwritten social rules about bodies, privacy, and relationships that can be incredibly confusing. So, what's the engine driving all of this change? Well, for boys, the primary fuel for the puberty rocket is the hormone testosterone. And what's really fascinating is that recent science has uncovered a powerful link between testosterone levels and autism during this exact period. And this is a really big deal. It comes from a longitudinal study published in PubMed Central. Basically, researchers at Vanderbilt University followed a group of kids aged 10 to 13, and they found a very distinct hormonal difference. Okay, take a look at this. This is where it gets really interesting. On the left, you've got the average morning testosterone levels for typically developing youth. And on the right, the levels for autistic youth. That gap you see, it's not a small thing. It is a statistically significant elevation. So what does this suggest? It suggests the hormonal surge of puberty might be even more intense for them. And this could point to some downstream effects. Research has been exploring the link between testosterone and behavior for a long time. As this quote here notes, higher rates of irritability are pretty common in kids with ASD, and testosterone might be a contributing factor. Now, let's be clear. This isn't about saying one causes the other. It's about trying to understand the biological underpinnings of some of these challenges. But it's not just about hormones floating around in the body. It's about what those hormones are doing to the brain. Because puberty triggers a fundamental rewiring, a complete renovation, really, of the brain's emotional control center. I love this analogy. Think of it like a car's braking system getting a major upgrade. In a younger, less mature adolescent, emotional control is like having brakes that are connected to a really fast, reactive system, the amygdala, deep in the brain. It's super fast, but not always very thoughtful. But as they mature through puberty, control gets handed over to a much more sophisticated system, the anterior prefrontal cortex. That's the brain's executive suite. This is like upgrading to advanced precision anti-lock brakes. Way more control. And look, this isn't just a nice metaphor. It's backed by some serious neuroscience. This quote from a 2016 study in the Journal of Neuroscience pretty much confirms it. This developmental shift from those reactive, deep-brained regions to the regulating prefrontal cortex is a key feature of how the teenage brain develops. Okay, so let's recap. We've got elevated hormones and a brain that's basically under construction in the middle of a massive rewiring project. So what on earth does this mean for parents? How can we take all this science and turn it into real, practical support? Let's get into the toolkit. All right, the NHS has a great framework here with 6 foundational messages. First up, puberty is inevitable. It's coming, so plan for it. Don't just bury your head in the sand. Number 2, start talking and preparing early, way before the changes actually begin. 3, it's really important to reflect on your own family's beliefs and hang-ups about puberty. 4, when you do talk about it, take a neutral, matter-of-fact approach. 5, establish hygiene rules as early as you possibly can. And finally, number 6, and this one is huge, introduce the concept of public versus private.
Seriously, this public versus private concept, it is an absolute game changer. For an autistic child who might not naturally pick up on all those subtle social cues, this gives them a clear, concrete set of rules for navigating a super complex social world. It's basically about creating black and white categories for a very, very gray area of life. And here's how you can make this concept super concrete and easy to understand. Private spaces are places like a bedroom or a bathroom, anywhere you're alone. And so private behaviors, like masturbation or getting undressed, happen there. Public spaces are, well, anywhere other people are, a classroom, a store, a park. And public behaviors, like talking to your friends, happen in those places. Using these clear, simple examples over and over again really helps solidify the rule. So, how you actually communicate all of this is absolutely key. Use the correct anatomical words and use them consistently. No confusing slang or nicknames. Keep your explanations brief and simple, and be ready to repeat them a lot. Visuals, like signs or symbols on doors, can be incredibly helpful. And maybe most importantly, you have to model the rules you want them to follow. You have to walk the walk. Set really clear household rules like always knocking on closed doors. Look, what we've talked about today is really just the start of the conversation. Supporting a child through this time is an ongoing journey, and thankfully, there are some excellent resources out there to help you keep learning. Here are 4 books that come highly recommended by the NHS. They're specifically written to tackle the topic of puberty for boys with autism and intellectual disabilities. They use really clear language and lots of visuals to explain what's happening, giving you another great tool for your toolkit. So in the end, understanding this unique hormonal and neurological journey isn't just about managing a difficult phase. It's about building empathy. It's about being willing to adapt our approach. And really, it leads us to a much bigger question, doesn't it? How can we, as a society, get better at anticipating and supporting our neurodivergent youth through all of life's biggest, most unpredictable changes?